Howdy there, pipe pals and gals. Well, greetings and salutations there, pipe pals and gals. Holy Smoking Pipe Padre coming back at you with a new video for September. And I'm smoking in my, I think very appropriately tonight, my Hobbit pipe. Notice I didn't say Harfoot pipe, I said Hobbit pipe. And I would probably gander a guess that the new Amazon Prime TV show called Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power, and we'll talk about that in just a moment, probably won't have any smoking. All those wonderful, charming moments of, hobbits in the Shire and the pub and the, the pipes and the pints and food and, all those other, pub-related kind of things. Probably won't be making an appearance in the politically correct Rings of Power. So we're going to talk about that. So anyway, I'm smoking, of course, my good old-fashioned Dunhill Church Warden, the original Hobbit pipe. I'm still smoking my Warped Saint Espresso, a wonderful gift that keeps on giving. Okay, well, it is quite a warm evening out here, up here at the lake, and I thought I would, maybe I can do a little video turnaround here, just to show you the ambiance that I'm in. This is highly technical video editing here at its best. Hey, how was that, huh? How's that for sophisticated video editing? Camera work. Yeah. Okay. So, you'd probably have to be living under a rock to not know, at least in some circles, that the talk of the day is the Amazon Prime knockoff called Rings of Power. And I just obviously, well, maybe not obviously, but it just seemed like I really want to chime in on all this. Now, I've been watching video after video after video, and at present, I haven't found one video. Now, I'm sure there are lots of videos out there, but they don't show up in my queue. Most of the videos, I'd say 95%, are pretty much a thumbs down on the new Amazon TV show, Rings of Power. And I'm not really one to just jump on the hate bandwagon. I really am not. Let's see here. I'm don't know if I can get any closer. But so anyway, I wanted to just kind of share with you my 2 cents, if I may, with your indulgence. I had another drink. I was going to have my first. Okay, well, maybe what I'll do. So I'm drinking here also my very first Jocko Go from the Jocko Willink channel. This is his version of an energy drink. I've never tried it before. Put it in the freezer for about 20 minutes. Trying to chill it down real fast so I can make this video for you. So I'm going to try my first Jocko. Okay. Kind of needs to be a little more chilled. Wow, it has kind of a medicine-y taste. But you're not supposed to drink it because you enjoy it. It's supposed to be a kind of like a cough syrup. Jocko, I don't know about what you're thinking here, buddy, but that's that's going to put hair on your teeth. Supposedly, though, you won't crash when you drink this. Just real quick, I will say that my energy level for the last 4 weeks, I'm happy to report to you all, has been really, really, really good. And I think I have to say, because I'm not in the chronic back pain that I've had for the last 3 or 4 months, that I had how my back kind of went out again, and although I can still function when I'm in a lot of little chronic minor pain, it zaps your energy. So you really don't need energy drinks. I'm going to just take a little bit more of this. Man, I'm trying to figure out what that flavor is. Ugh. Wow. And it doesn't really go good with delicious pipe tobacco. Ugh. Oh well, it's I guess it's I wanted to try it. He has a tea out that the regular tea. Apparently that's the bomb, so I'll try that tomorrow. But anyway, long story short, so when you're not in chronic pain, which I think when you're in chronic pain, it does zap your energy. So I'm very grateful to the Lord right now because I'm not in chronic pain. Oh, it just reminded me of something. There was somebody I'm supposed to call. I'll have to call them a little bit later. I just realized there's somebody I'm supposed to call back a couple days ago, and I meant to. I'll give them a call back tonight. Anyway, hope I don't forget. But anyway, that just reminded me of that other situation I have to do. But the thing is that when you're in chronic pain, I think that does zap your energy real fast. And I've noticed that I'm actually kind of running up the stairs because my back doesn't hurt anymore. And I've been going for 5 and 6 mile walks effortlessly, going up and down hills, just great. Okay, so that's just a little personal aside. Okay, so what I want to talk about tonight is the rings of power. And I try to be objective on these things, and I know there's a few of you out there that really love the fantasy world and comic book world, and some of you probably are just thinking, man, this Amazon program is just the bee's knees, the cat's whiskers and all that. But first of all, here's the thing. If they just did this, I think I would probably be perfectly okay with everything. If they just took off the Tolkien Lord of the Rings little, they pasted that above Rings of Power, okay? If they just took off, the Lord of the Rings of Power, then I think, you can write any fantasy show you want to. I don't care, and if it's a good fantasy show, maybe I'll watch it, But to piggyback, to try to dovetail, or more like ride the coattails of the great J.R.R. Tolkien and the Lord of the Rings trilogy, I think is, one, it's clearly, and there's lots of problems with this, is that it's kind of disingenuous. It reminds me of the cuckoo bird. The cuckoo bird. And why am I talking about the cuckoo bird? Well, the cuckoo bird, for those of you who don't know, it really is a pretty lazy and nefarious creature. It's a parasite, basically. What it does is it finds a bird's nest that was not built by the cuckoo, and basically it goes to that nest when the other birds are out looking for food, and they basically destroy the eggs that are in the nest, or if they don't do that, then they lay their own eggs in that nest, and then the other poor birds, unsuspecting birds, come back, and they try to incubate those eggs, and then out comes cuckoos, not their actual. Well, maybe there's two types of ways that the cuckoo does that. So sometimes it'll leave the original eggs in place, but a lot of times it basically pitches them out and lays its own eggs, and then the poor unsuspecting other birds that did the work of building the nest and sitting on the nest and hatching the birds and then feeding the birds and all that. So the cuckoo is a pretty nefarious and lazy creature, and that's the way I look at a lot of modern day, and I've always been trying to kind of figure this out. It's like, well, what is it that why am I disappointed in things like the Star Trek sagas, the newer adaptations, or the Star Wars especially, or all these new remakes? And yes, you can just answer it in all one word. It's all woke. And that's got its own set of problems. But what I think has happened are these people with their new agendas. They've taken these older franchises, all the work that wonderful authors and creators have made, and they basically have infiltrated them, and they, in a very nefarious way, have basically used the traditional foundation that everybody knows and loves, characters, storylines, and the like, to basically destroy those past stories, to devalue them, to ridicule them, to even destroy and dismantle them. And for their new woke agenda. And the Rings of Power cast have talked about they're basically activists. They feel that the world is unfair, and they're trying now to right this great wrong. And so it's a real turnoff. We see that with the Picard TV show, or the Star Trek TV shows, the later, so like Discovery, I think it was, and it just abysmal, because you see all these infiltrating characters that really aren't part of the canon, whether it's, again, Lord of the Rings or Star Trek or Star Wars, only to basically trash what came before, so that now they can rewrite their own stories. And my whole thing is, look, if you want to write a fantasy show and you want to produce it, and whatever it is, that's fine, but don't call it Star Wars, don't call it Star Trek, don't call it Lord of the Rings. For Pete's sake, have some integrity, and try to create your own stories. But the problem is that their stories are poo-poo, okay? And so I've been watching a lot of people, and at first I thought, well, before the actual, okay, I guess the trailers finally came out. Maybe what 6 months ago, maybe 4 months ago, I don't know. And people were already kind of like, this doesn't look like it's going to be good. And so anyway, long story short, is the first 2 episodes have aired, and people who really, a couple people who said, look, I really not a real Tolkien person. I don't know. I've never read the books. I just saw the movies, the Peter Jackson movies. I liked them, but hey, I don't know what the real Tolkien canon is, and what's authentic to that, and or what's not. And I just like a good story. Okay, and so there's been about several of those people that I've watched, and they said, man, I really wanted to like this show. I like fantasies. And I really wanted to really get into it, and everybody says the same thing. The story is terrible. The characters are terrible. I guess the gal who plays Guylandria. Let's see. What's okay? Oh, I can't even remember. Galadriel. They call her Galadriel, not Galadriel, but Guyladriel, because she acts like this guy, Guyladriel, and just a one dimension character actress, and completely the Galadriel character is not even anything remotely resembling the actual Galadriel in the Lord of the Rings. It's a new character. It has the same name, but it's a completely different character. There's no natural character development. It's all added in. It's all kind of like reworked, and it's terrible. I guess the gal who plays it is they call her Morbid Clark. I guess it's Mordred or Mydrid or something, but they call her Morbid Clark, which I think is pretty accurate because the gal is just a horrible actress, and the character now is a Mary Sue superhero, quote unquote, and it's just not. It's not Lord of the Rings. It's not Lord of the Rings. So my original statement to start this whole thing off is, hey, just take off. For me, I would feel I don't care. Take off Lord of the Rings at the beginning of that whole thing and just say Rings of Power. Okay, and then, or put Amazon's Rings of Power. I'd have no problems with it because I'm not going to watch it. It basically reminds me of the Captain Marvel movie that came out with, what's her name, Brie Larson, another pretty dismal actor or actress, one-dimensional. And I never watched it because I saw enough of the trailers, and I watched a lot of reviews, and basically it was just a one-dimensional character, which basically was all about third, fourth wave feminism. It's like, oh man, don't preach to me, don't try to lecture me, about how evil white men are and all this. It's a real turnoff, just an absolute big turnoff. Okay, and here's the thing that I would say, which I think is interesting. And even though you might say, well, it's just a TV show, why are you getting so worked up about it? Well, I'm not really worked up about it. But let me say this. What we've seen, and it goes back to my little cuckoo analogy, is a lot of people who are in alternate lifestyles. And again, you live your life. If you're somebody who has certain proclivities, and you peacefully live your life, and you're respectful, and you're a good person, I probably I'm not going to be that concerned about it. I mean, I might, from a spiritual standpoint, I might, if we ever have the conversation, I would say, well, have you ever considered these things from a spiritual perspective? But that's a topic for another time. But when you see Hollywood, you see the media, you see the school systems, you see the municipal governments, city governments who have been infiltrated by a lot of people who clearly have a kind of a chip on their shoulder, and they have basically are trying to rewrite history. They feel that maybe they've been wronged and somehow. And now they feel like, well, we've got the power now, so now we're going to kind of, identify our enemies and kind of like go after them. Right now it's censorship, but it's basically, if you're not, I think it was really made evident, and they're holding on for dear life, but I don't think it's going to work for much longer with the vaccines. Trying to force people to get the jab and the boosters and all that. And I think, especially now that I see this whole backlash on this rings of power, again, this is a barometer. This whole media thing is kind of a barometer. And what I'm seeing is, and I'm thinking other people are probably waking up too, is that the pendulum has kind of swung all the way to the left on one hand. Let's see, if I say left, I guess that would be, yeah, that's my left. That would be your left, yeah, okay, left. But I think people are kind of saying enough's enough. See, here's the thing. People in alternate lifestyles, and whether we're talking, BLM or LGBT or whatever, Antifa and anarchists, okay, see, we live in this wonderful country called America, and you can believe what you want to believe. But when you basically take your beliefs and you try to superimpose them and force them on other people, that's where this country has a problem with that. I mean, even as a Christian, if I tried to say, well, we need to make everybody Christians, we need to make everybody Catholic Christians, that's not going to fly in this country. Okay? Now, please God, we'd have more, hopefully better people, people that would be, people that would want to be God-fearing people, and because when you're a God-fearing person, for the most part, it doesn't mean that there aren't charlatans or there aren't fakes or just good old-fashioned sinful people that just don't live up to the ideals. But at least for the most part, I think people strive. They may not always succeed, but they strive. But to try and force any one agenda, any one philosophy, any one religion, any one political view on everybody, that doesn't work in America. And the problem, and I'm going to say something that might upset some of you, but you got to stop and think about it. Historically, look at the regimes that basically came to power and they tried to force their ideology, their philosophy on the rest of the country. I'm thinking of a place called Deutschland in the 1930s and 20s and 30s, yeah. Or, Russia in the 1970s and 1917 to 1930s, I guess. Actually, even beyond that. But, people that say, okay, this is the way you have to think, you have to be, you have to live. And if you don't, we will deal with you. And I think we've started seeing some people trying to enforce what they think is the right way instead of saying, okay, like last year. Last year I had the unknown. Let's see, the unnamed virus of unknown origin. I'll say that just to be on the safe side. The virus whose name shall not be spoken on this channel, right? And every time I went into the hospital, I had to go in 4 extra times. I was browbeaten. I was ridiculed. I was lectured. I was harangued. How come you're not vaccinated? And I'm going to say tonight, I'm so pleased and grateful that I never got the damn thing. Because look at all these people that, one, everybody that I know that got vaccinated came down with COVID. And the ones that would kind of look at me and say, you mean you're not vaccinated? How dare you, And so anyway, instead of saying, would you like to take this vaccine? This would probably help you. Now again, it was all experimental, still experimental as far as I'm concerned. Jocko, I'm going to give you another try here. Ooh. Boy, that's bad. That tastes like Robitussin cough syrup. Oh, man, that's bad. Oh. Oh. Oh my gosh, that's bad. Oh. Okay. So, but anyway, I'm sorry. That just, that really took it out of me. Jocko, I love your channel, buddy. I love your content. You've just got such great content, and your podcasts are probably some of the best I've ever seen, and leave me thinking, for days and weeks on end. But your drink, oh man, that's just horrible. I guess if I was sick and I was dehydrated, or I probably would go ahead and say, well, tastes like cough syrup, and I'll drink it. But oh man, oh. Anyway, sorry folks. I thought that was going to be a really refreshing energy drink. No, it's not. And anyway, caveat emptor. Anyway, when people try and force their agenda on everybody. Now, yeah, we're all going to be proselytized from time to time. Again, maybe somebody's trying to sell us an energy drink. Maybe somebody's trying to tell us to vote a certain way. And I have no problems with people making a case for what they believe. But I do have a real serious problem when someone basically says, you will, or else. That's where we draw the line there, folks. And we do, thanks be to God, we live in the one of the most wonderful countries in the world. It's not perfect. It never has been, never will be. But people have freedom of choice in this country. And right now, that is getting to be it's hanging by a slim thread. We could go into full tyranny. Just look what's going on in Canada. Okay. I think we're seeing a lot of tyrants in this world. They haven't rose to the level of putting people in concentration camps and death camps, but if that's like, if you put it on a scale of how many steps to that, well, we're probably at step number 1 already. We're clearly, and maybe even past that, we're probably at step 2, and let's say the concentration camps are step 4 and 5. Okay. Well, again, we got a crazy tyrant here in California, and his edict is that we will all be driving electric cars by 2030, and according to my watch, that's supposedly 8 years from now. And I don't know how in the world he's going to manage that when we have rolling blackouts, and our electrical grid system is probably one of the most dodgiest, ephemeral, fragile, broken in the country. So we're all going to plug in our electric cars. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And all we need to do is have a couple of these wonderful lithium battery cars just blow up in a neighborhood and start a chain reaction. Because from what I understand, you really can't put those batteries out. They have to burn themselves out. So a lot of we've had in the last 10, 12 years, literally neighborhoods decimated. Not just decimated, incinerated. One house catches on fire, and literally the whole neighborhood is just a pile of ashes in a couple of days. And that's just conventional fires. Now you're adding, these lithium battery blow up things, and the fire department, all they're going to be able to do is just stand back and watch. Hey, if you want to buy a Tesla, God bless you. Maybe someday I'll drive an electric car. I don't know. But right now, I want just the freedom of choice. If I don't want to drive an electric car and I want to drive my truck for a few more years, that's what I want to do. But don't come to me when you're jackbooted, authoritarian, little Sieg Heil, you will comply or else attitude. And I do think the pendulum is starting to swing, hopefully back to the center. Notice I'm not saying I want the pendulum now to go from all the way to this left woke stuff to a right kind of a thing. I'm not even asking for that. I just want woke people, hey, you go live your life. You go live your life. Okay? But stop pushing your diversity agenda on people like me. Okay? Stop trying to make me feel guilty because of the color of my skin. I do look pretty white tonight. I got to say that. And hey, look, and I let my slaves go last week. Honestly, I let them all go. I said, guys, you're all free. And I gave them 40 acres and a mule, and they were happy. They really were. But this whole pointing the finger and calling everybody this, a homophobe or a racist or whatever. Hey, I don't support BLM because I think they're a terrorist organization. That doesn't make me racist. I don't support the agenda of the militant LGBT. I just don't. I'm sorry, guys. You live your life, but when you're trying to force and then punish people for saying, well, you don't agree with us, so we're coming after you. Well, you know what? No, you don't get to do that. Now, an abuse of power, totalitarianism, well, and that's where we're kind of, if the pendulum goes, all the way off, then we're probably in real trouble. But right now it looks like, especially, and again, you're probably saying, well, that's just a TV show, and no, but I think a lot of people are kind of getting fed up with being told, that you're bad and you're wrong, and we're going to change things, folks. We're going to make a new world. Well, good luck. Other people in history have tried, and look how it worked out for them. Yeah, wasn't a good lesson. I mean, it was a lesson that we need to remind ourselves of the outcome, because the outcome isn't really good. But here in America, hey, you want to live a certain lifestyle, and you're just minding your own business, and you're doing you, and I'm doing me, we all get along fine. But when you come after me and say, well, you're not an ally, you don't support us. I don't support certain things based upon my religious beliefs. I'm not going to come after you and try and put you in a camp. But now you're going to come after and put me in a camp because I don't believe the way you want me to believe? It doesn't work that way. It's not supposed to. Not in this country. So you want to fly a rainbow flag, you go fly a rainbow flag. But don't you, try and say, well, hey, that American flag, you're not flying that no more. We're getting rid of that thing. And there are a lot of people who, sad to say, are in the alphabet community and the LGBT community and the BLM community and the Antifa community and other communities that, yeah, if they could destroy this country and turn it into something else. Okay. And the problem is that it's like, well, wait a minute. See, America is for, kind of like everybody. That American flag to me symbolizes, real unity. Not just diversity, but unity. I'd rather have unity than diversity. I'd rather have a neighbor who, even though I may not agree with, say, their personal life choices, as long as they're going to be a neighbor, a kind person, a respectful person, I got no problems with that. But when they're like, we had some people in my other place I lived in Chico, and they were pretty militant people. I'd walk by their house and I'd think, man, I don't want them to come after me. But they were flying all these angry flags, these quote-unquote diversity flags, and and they were, hating on Donald Trump and Republicans and calling everybody that didn't agree with them the enemy and the racist and the phobes and all that. It's like, oh, I don't know how the other neighbors had to put up with these people, but they probably weren't. Now, maybe they were very nice people. I don't know. But I would tend to think that, they would see persons like me as a threat. Well, that guy's he's a Catholic priest. He's a threat. Well, I'm not a threat. I know what I stand for, and if that offends you and that alarms you, then maybe we should talk. How about that? But ooh. So if you came over and I gave you a Jocko drink, you'd probably know that. No, I'm just kidding. I wouldn't do that to you. Ooh, that is. Oh. You know, it's very seldom that I have something, whether it's food or drink, that I have really a bad reaction. And I got to say that now maybe this again maybe. Okay, the point is, and I know if Jocko was here, he'd say, hey, dude, you know what? That ain't a drink that you're going to enjoy, okay? It's a drink that's going to give you energy. That's what it's for. You know, read the label. Okay, so fair enough. It's an energy drink. It's not a delicious drink, okay? It's not a drink that you would, enjoy with a friend. It's like, okay, this is when you're kind of running a little low and you need a little extra energy. Maybe you crack one of these open and drink it as fast as you can, and then you get the benefits of the energy. But it's not something that you're going to say, oh, this is delicious, this is wonderful. So it's very rare that I actually have kind of a negative reaction. It's kind of like keeping with my critique of the rings of power. That's my Gandalf impersonation, I guess. Now, don't ask me to blow smoke ships out of my pipe like Gandalf does. When in the Hobbit, not the Hobbit, but the first Lord of the Rings, he and Bilbo are or maybe it's he and Frodo. They're smoking their pipes, and Gandalf makes these smoke clouds that look like a shape of a sailing ship, and so I can't do that yet. I used to be able to do smoke rings, but I don't know if I can do that anymore. But anyway, so I don't, I'm not here to hate on anything or anyone, but I do think that it's a barometer of our society. And to be honestly, I think people are done with being told how to live their lives. They're tired of people, pointing a finger of blame and scorn at them and saying, you're a bad person because of you believe a certain way or your skin's a certain way. People are saying, wait a minute, it doesn't work that way. No. And basically, kind of telling people, and I think that might be a good thing. It's like, when as they see, they spent $1 billion. Did you know that? So some people that are watching this video, I know some people don't watch contemporary TV. They haven't for years, and they probably never will ever again. And that's fine. And I don't watch a lot of contemporary TV unless they're compelling stories. And that's very few and far between. But I think a lot of people are kind of getting to a point where they're tired of being preached to. In for example, okay, I talked to last video about Top Gun Maverick, and again, that was a good show. Now, a lot of people would say, well, it's kind of corny. It kind of was a throwback to like the 80s kind of movies, and it was a good story, okay? And I think it had at least some good character development in the story, okay? There was a natural, believable character arc for most of the characters. There was a story. Now, I saw one guy was kind of making, there are people that don't like the Top Gun movie, and I listened to one guy's critique, and, well, there were really no villains in Top Gun Maverick. I thought, well, just because a villain isn't necessarily named per se, doesn't mean that there wasn't some kind of an evil force that they were combating, they were going against, okay? And there was a real sense of adversary, even though it was maybe not totally named. Even Tolkien, his characters, even Sauron, and was kind of this shadowy figure you didn't really see, until later in the story. Then when it was time, for the villain to reveal himself, and then there was all these other subtle characters that were just incredibly written characters. And I will say this: one of the things that I think is really disingenuous is, again, and it's like going back to the cuckoo bird, is that these people have taken this wonderful classic work that Tolkien wrote, and Tolkien says it was a religious allegory, and it's very Catholic, okay, very Catholic. And so these people are stripping all of that because they hate Catholics, they hate Christianity, and they're going to turn it into some woke, diverse thing. Well, again, if that's the fantasy show you want to write, well, by golly, you go write your fantasy show. But don't steal, a beloved, not just a franchise, but a beloved literary classic, and then warp it, reshape it into something that it was never meant to be. It just kind of boggles the mind, and I feel that, like I said, I think what I'm seeing, and again, maybe what I'm seeing isn't accurate, but it does look like that maybe, and I'm hoping that we've turned a page, we've ended a chapter, and that pendulum's going to swing back to the center. That's what I hope. Because if it doesn't, it's just going to get worse and worse and worse. And already people are predicting all sorts of horrible things that could be happening this coming winter, I guess. I hope that doesn't happen, but people have got to stop with their agenda, okay? You may believe a certain way, and if there was compelling evidence for your case, then I'd say, oh, well, we need to pay attention. But there's a lot of alarmists out there. There are people that want, I think, and some of this is really pretty evil stuff. There are a lot of people, apparently, who have no problems reducing the planet by 4 billion people. I guess there's 5 billion people. If we could get rid of 4 billion people, tomorrow, they'd have no problem with that. And that's pretty sick. That's evil. Because of their agenda, their belief that somehow, we have to believe this way now because this is the way, the new globalism, the new global belief, and that's scary. That's real scary. I believe in sovereignty. I believe in sovereignty of nations. Thanks be to God, we still have sovereignty of some nations, okay? Because I wouldn't want to be ruled by one world evil leader, one world tyrant. Do you really want to be ruled by one evil tyrant or a group of tyrants who tell you what you can and cannot do? Because that's where it's going. We're clearly on that path until people, I think, get to a point where saying, enough's enough. Again, I don't care so much, your personal life and the things that you value, but at the same time, good leadership, good civics, I would say, a good society recognizes that you can't force other people to believe exactly the way you do. And to force people, to threaten people, is wrong. It's wrong. So, when I see the reviews and the critiques coming back on this Amazon thing, because the Amazon thing, it's not just a TV show. I guess I'll say that. It appears to me that, again, and this is coming from the cast of characters, it's coming from the writers, supposedly, it's coming from the people that produce it. This is meant to be a kind of a one world government globalist message. This is where in other words, instead of just making a TV show and having fun with the TV show, they really say that they have agendas. They're trying to influence people to believe a certain way. It's like, wait a minute, I thought this was just a TV show. Why are you trying to force people to believe in your ideology now, using the cloak of a TV show to do it? Now, I got to say, so far it's great that they're trying to do it because it's so poorly written, and everybody sees through it, and it's just. A lot of people say this seems to be, if I was going to rank, all the critiques, and this is the best one of all, is that everybody that I've seen or listened to, and I've listened to probably about 50 reviews in the last 2 or 3 days, every single one of them at the very top of their list is it's boring. So the good news is that your one world government, one world new order, religious philosophy, diversity, whatever message, most people are not even watching the show. They've watched the first 2 installments, and most people are saying, I'm not watching it anymore because it's boring. So keep up the good work, folks. Anyway, that's all I've got for now. So thanks for watching. And, as I like to say, light up your world. Woo! Light up your pipe. We'll see ya in the next one.